Hi guys, I'm back. It's been about 3 weeks since my last upload, and I'll provide some more context of why I haven't been uploading towards the end of the video. It's not that big of a deal, but today we are back with a special movie, one of the biggest blockbusters delayed by the coronavirus. That is Fast and Furious 9, also known as F9. Now, I initially could have uploaded this video and filmed it a couple of days ago, as it did release earlier over here in the UK than in the US, but I had some very strong and passionate feelings about this movie that I wanted to sit on it for a bit to make sure it wasn't just in the heat of the moment, if they were just my actual thoughts. So I've done that and I'm ready to talk about it. As always with my reviews, we'll start off with the positive things I have to say about this movie, and it's no secret to anyone that this franchise has changed drastically. Once starting as just simple street racing, harmless cinema, as the years have passed, it has drastically changed genre and gone bigger and crazier every time. And as it is obvious that they are always going for bigger scale events each movie, some fans, well most fans, let their imagination do the thinking and start to conjure up some ideas for future movies, and they are all super exaggerated, but one of the most popular ones, which I won't talk about too much because if you are a fan of the franchise you will know that they do this in this movie, but they made the memes come true, and it's dumb, yes, but it is hilarious, so you just have to applaud them for delivering good fan service, and it made everyone laugh, I'm sure, who watched it. It was certainly the best part of this movie for me, which I just enjoyed for how silly it is. I also like to see the return of familiar faces, like the OGs of this franchise. I won't go into who's who because I didn't actually know about it until watching it, but it was a very nice surprise. Even though if it didn't change the movie too much, it was just nice to see some of those old faces from earlier editions into this franchise. And one last thing, with these movies, this one included, if you go in with a very serious mindset, you're not going to enjoy it at all. But if you go into it maybe with all your brain cells taken out, maybe you're with some friends, you'll have a good laugh. I didn't actually see it with friends, so it was hard to replicate that feeling, but I'm planning to do it next week. Don't go into this with some serious intentions. Moving on to the negatives, where this franchise does go for those silly elements, here it just feels too far. The best way of describing what this film does to this franchise in terms of car-related puns is that this is where it starts running on fumes. This film does become self-aware, which does make for some funny jokes, but as soon as it does that and starts to exaggerate everything past what you could even imagine, it just loses its charm of, you know, like, we know it's self-aware, but they don't know it. But when they start acknowledging certain things, it was okay once, but then when they keep bringing it up and then dumb things, unrealistic things keep happening, it just gets really tiresome and wears off that charm it had, where it goes way too over the top. For a film franchise which has a serious theme about family within it, it really shows in this movie how they've been making it up as it goes along, as it has taken 9 films in the main franchise, 10 if you include the spin-off Hobbs and Shaw, to actually mention Dom's actual family other than Mia. You know, that family of course being Jacob, and then what else is established is his dad. You know, it's always interesting to see the main character's backstory or origin, but doing it in the 9th movie in the franchise with a load of flashbacks, it really does feel out of place and a little bit too late to do so. I know they give some reasons why they weren't talked about, but I just feel like it's lazy storytelling. Like, some point they would have at least acknowledged it between Letty and Dom, but no, not even that. It just shows that they're making it up as they go along. I mentioned this franchise is famous for where it started and where it is now, and they've kind of swapped genre again, this time going into more sci-fi, where you have to get like all 3 objects of some kind to put it together and create a mega weapon or something like that. It was hard to follow. So as soon as it started doing that, I just really didn't start to enjoy this movie. Where the previous movie left off and where this one opens up on, it establishes that Dom and Letty, they're ready to settle down with their kid, and they abandon that after about 10 minutes. Not just abandon the idea, they also abandon their kid. Like, Dom's gonna stay behind while Letty goes, and then 10 seconds later he just changes his mind. And they're very funny for what they had established, but they just threw it out the window. And as for Dom's family, Jacob, his brother, John Cena, the Invisible Man himself, I didn't really understand his motives. Yes, there was a bit of revenge on Dom in there or whatever, but that doesn't justify wanting to be a global terrorist, you know? So there wasn't really that clear justification for his motives, and I just couldn't be on board with him as a character, and also the other villains. I think one was called Otto, and the other one obviously Cypher, who was pretty much pushed to the side of this whole movie, locked in a box, quite literally. Now, I know it's in the trailer, and maybe it shouldn't be because that's mainly the biggest reveal of it, but I still won't talk about it in specifics. But there is a character who's been resurrected. I hated the idea. The character itself hasn't changed, but just the way they brought it back and made up all these excuses, I just didn't like it at all. It ruins when I was finally coming to terms with that person's death. It just doesn't make sense, you know, it's so clearly a change in mind as things have gone along. And the main part of it is that character coming back didn't really change much of the movie. They didn't really need to be there, so it just feels so unnecessary. F9 is the most self-aware out of these movies, which is unfortunate because when they start leaning into those things like, hey fans, am I doing it right? Like, it's like when there's an unintentionally funny person that everyone likes and then they start going overboard once they realise everyone finds it funny, and then those people who found it funny just stop finding that person funny. It's like that. That was a really complex explanation, but I'm sure you understand. This movie just goes too far and over the top. They acknowledge they might be invincible where they don't have a scratch on their body for all the things they've gone through. They also acknowledge luck, but it's in the trailer, and some clips that are released online. Jacob picks up Dom, runs him through this like kind of open doorway. He hits the back of his head on the top of the door frame, and Dom doesn't really flinch, but the door frame breaks. So that kind of sums up what we're going with here. They are invincible. I think there is another clip where Dom catches a car. So I don't know. This is why I need time to think about it, because I was just left in shock at how far they went. And I'm gonna be honest, I didn't enjoy this movie. Even in the past ones when they're bad, they're over the top and fun. Here it just goes too far. And one final negative, Cardi B. So those were my thoughts on F9, the 9th movie in the Fast and Furious franchise. As crazy as some of these have gotten, I've always enjoyed them. Even if they're bad, I've given them a bad rating before, I've still enjoyed them. There is fun to be had, and besides one section of this movie, I didn't actually enjoy it. I didn't find it amusing. Them trying to go so far to entertain the fans because they know they like the over-the-top stuff, it's gone way too far to the point where it's not enjoyable. So I've watched through all the movies again because I'm going to do a ranking in the coming days, and I was certain that a certain movie in this franchise would easily be in last, but a bit of a spoiler for when this ranking comes out, I have a new last place because I'm going to give F9 a 46%. I didn't expect myself to give such a low rating for a franchise like this, but I just have to go with what I feel. This is where I had to wait a couple of days to make sure I was happy with this rating, and after a lot of thinking, my mind hasn't changed, so I have to go with that 46%, which makes it one of my lowest movies of the year. Before I end this video, I'd just like to talk a bit about why I was gone for just under a month, 3 weeks. You know, it's not that big of a deal, but I just thought I should acknowledge it because I can. When I made my last video, which was the Conjuring ranking, I was in my last week or two of college where I had to get all my work done, so I prioritized that. And yes, I know it's done now, but since then, I don't know if there's many football fans watching this, or I can't say it, soccer, ugh, doesn't feel right. But the Euros started. Now it's a big football tournament where the European national teams play, and I'm a big football fan, so I've been watching that a lot, pretty much every day. And as my education has finished, finally the weather's heating up here in England, although I'm saying that I think it's raining now. I've just been enjoying myself because it's been a long year where I haven't been able to see my friends as much, so I've just been enjoying myself a bit, but obviously I still like doing this, so I'm gonna be back. But also another reason was I wanted to try and change up some of my content, but I couldn't think of what. I just didn't want to do reviews and rankings. I wanted to do other stuff, and I'm yet to come up with some ideas. I know it's been a while, I've been brainstorming, but I'm yet to come up with some ideas, so I'll still do some thinking. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed my ramble just then, and I hope you enjoyed this very long review. They're normally between 6 minutes, but I saw just then my cons took up 9 minutes, so I'm sure this will be a long review. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope to see you in my Fast and Furious ranking.